He bought it.
I put it on top of my file so I can find it.
It's, we're ready to go.
But I think it should be.
He wants to say, take it. Some meetings and then backing out.
Bill has a copy of the land management. Yep.
Good evening, Danvers. This is our regular scheduled meeting of the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. And to start off, I'd like to ask Mr. Graham to read the native land acknowledgement.
In keeping with our values of equity and inclusion, and to support those who experience marginalization, this evening's meeting will begin with the Native American land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the ancestral homelands of the Naumkeag and Agawam people. Historical evidence shows that the Naumkeag and Agawam were peaceful in their relationship with European settlers. However, their population depleted rapidly due to the smallpox and other pandemic old world diseases unknowingly introduced by earlier European colonizers to the East Coast. To honor the Naumkeag and Agawam communities, along with any other indigenous peoples who inhabited these lands now known as Danvers, Mass, and who may be lost to history, let us take a moment to recognize the past, present, and future of indigenous peoples, and reflect on our roles within settler colonialism. We acknowledge that these ancestral grounds we have collectively gathered upon and support the resilience and strength that indigenous peoples have shown worldwide.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Agenda item number 3, approval of last month's minutes. And I have a motion. I'd like to say one thing about those. Michelle, I believe if, I don't have it right in front of me, but regarding the dates that I was supposed to set up for banners in town, I did get dates for, and I think you had, one of them was supposed to be Pride, and the other was MLK. All right, so I got both of those, but I believe he referred into that sentence that I got it for Celebration, which I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Celebration will be coming up basically a year from now, so we'll get dates for that. But we already have dates for MLK, and we have a date for Pride in May. Was it June, right?
So the minutes need to be amended?
Just one slight, on, I'm not, I don't have them in front of me.
I've never amended them after they're presented, I don't think.
Okay. If you do it, you do it
I
and
mean,
get it
it's in
under.
the record here, but it's,
Right. We're all right. There's nothing drastic about it. I just,
yeah.
I looked through them and I went, hello, Selectman Mills, how are you? Nice to see you.
Cold, that's why my coat
Yeah,
fell.
it's both.
Do I have a
Yeah.
motion to accept the minutes?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, that'll be number 3. Number 4, are there any citizens' queries? If you have anything you would like to speak to, you can please take the podium. State your name, although we already know who you are, et cetera.
Hi, I'm Kristen Perkins, a Danvers resident and also a business owner here in town of a business called Inclusion Sports. In lieu of recent events in town,
Yes, take them.
In lieu of recent events in town, my husband and I, the co-owners of Inclusion Sports, have worked together with Danvers Recreation to put together an inclusive sports open play this Saturday, October 19th, from 12 to 1:30 p.m. at Smith School here in Danvers. And the goal is really to bring all people together. It's open to all people, residents and non-residents, people of all ages. We think that by building community with people with and without disabilities of all backgrounds, we are all stronger together. And so it's a great way for people to come together for free, have fun. We will be giving away a free spot in our program that we're hosting with Danvers Recreation this winter. And so for people that have kids ages 2 to 10, they can win a free spot in our program, which has a value of $200. So we just want people to come together. There's a lot of people, like everyone sitting here today, that serves on the committee who are already doing a lot of work in this community. And it's important to continue to connect the dots for other people that might not know we're all here.
What was the time of that again?
12 to 1:30 p.m., Saturday, October 19th at Smith School. Outdoors on the fields out back.
Saturday, October 19th.
Yes.
Excellent.
Thank you. Any
Thank you very much, Kristen.
questions? Yeah.
Stay there for a second, Kristen. By the way, Kristen is a former member of this committee and also vice chair. And done an outstanding job for us until she was called to duty by her responsibilities. Okay, any questions starting off with David?
Nope, I hope I can make, I think I might have a commitment that day, though. I gotta check on that and see. If I can, I'll be there.
All right.
Sounds great.
Bill, anything?
Probably.
Okay, you have any questions? No, you don't
No.
have, I'm not asking you to make a commitment. I'm just asking you if you have any questions.
No, I asked mine already.
I'm not polling the committee. That's for the DEI to do, not me. All right,
It's a good project.
Johan.
Yeah, no questions, and I had it on my calendar, so I saw when it was posted.
Kristen, could you email me that info? You have my email. Just, I need a reminder sometimes, okay?
Yes.
All right, and,
No questions, but Christian, thank you so much for doing something positive to bring the community together, because that's something we need more of. And also for people who don't know, who are watching, could you tell us a little bit more about Inclusion Sports?
Yeah, thank you. So Inclusion Sports started in 2021, really as my husband and I were trying to find a sports program for our then 3-year-old son. And we tried a local soccer program that he wasn't successful in. And so we were searching for inclusive sports, and what we found was disability-focused programming, or what we had already tried. My son doesn't have a disability, so we were really left with nothing. That experience combined with my husband's career changes that he was planning. He was a clinical director at a center for kids with autism, and he was looking for different ways to use his skills and ideally use them in a setting like sports, where he felt more passionate. So we launched in partnership with Danvers Recreation right here, and families traveled from over 20 different cities and towns to come to these classes. So it really validated that there was a need, and since then we've partnered with approximately 80 different organizations, recreation departments, schools, community organizations, and we've taught classes to thousands of kids. And so we're working on franchising right now so that we don't bottleneck the impact that we can have for families and kids.
Thank you, Christian, and thank you for all the positive energy that you bring to this community.
all right,
No questions, but thank you for doing that.
Cameron?
Yes, no questions, but it's great, and I'll be looking forward to sharing it out on Instagram.
Anybody else?
Paul, if I may, I understand there's gonna be some kind of a rally for Ducky starting down at the, I think at Walgreens on High Street in a parade. I'm not sure what time it is, though. Are you aware of the schedule of that, or Rob, do you know what the time schedule is? I assume they've cleared this with the police.
First I've heard of it.
Sorry?
First I've heard of it.
Okay.
Date? Did you hear of a date?
I heard it's supposed to be Saturday.
Oh, okay.
So I'm hoping it won't conflict and that we can work both programs into each other. It's an unfortunate thing that happened, and the community needs to come together and work on this as one community, not divided. So,
Thank you.
Second what David said. I was at the meeting Tuesday, and Dave hit the nail right on the head. Okay. Next is liaison updates.
Oh, any other,
Do we have any
There's
other
other-
public
some other
comment?
members of the audience
Yeah.
here?
Oh, okay.
I'm not a Danvers resident. I live in Salem. My name is Alphonse Wright. I'm the chair of the Human Rights Coalition in Salem. And I figured, given recent events that were just named and something else that has been in the press with a farm, I'd come down and see what you all were doing to address that. And I also wanted to offer a hand to collaborate in the future, because since we live right next door, I'd love to work with you all on some stuff.
Fine,
Thank you, we appreciate that.
appreciate it.
Inasmuch as Salem and Danvers have a common history on some unfortunate incidents in the past, I think that probably would be a very good collaboration between the two of us. Thank you for coming.
I appreciate you coming, Al. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Mr. Mills? First of all, liaisons. We've sort of gotten into a situation where, a positive situation, that we're going to ask for quarterly reports from liaisons, which would be in September, December, March, and June. So basically, the beginning of school, December, school's open, it's been open for a while, and we're coming up on MLK, and then after that, we go to March, and then we find out what happened with MLK, et cetera, and anything else that comes up. And then we move into June, and that's basically, I think pretty much we've handled most of the events we've had, and also it's getting close to the end of school. All right, so it's just we appreciate you folks coming, the liaisons. We know we need your help, and we appreciate you filling us in on anything and everything that may be going on in town or in the surrounding communities. With that, Judge Mills, do you have anything to report on? Since you're here, I can get those. I can move.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Hello. I don't always get here. It's an easy commute, but I don't always get here. Just, number one, want to thank you for your service, which is sometimes totally unnoticed, unrespected, disrespected, and ignored. And I don't, and the board does not. The select board is busy volunteering essentially, as you do. We get paid $3,000 a year, which comes out to about 12 cents an hour. I'm not complaining, I'm not looking for a raise. Somebody did that in some other town and got whaled in the news. So thank you. I don't have any specific thing to bring, except I was, of course, present Tuesday night at our regular meeting, and we have the first section of the meeting in which citizens are invited to bring to the attention of the board and to the public issues that they believe require attention from the board. Well, we had a free-for-all surrounding the cruel, tragic disrespect of the young citizen who I had not met. Other people know him, and I guess he's really a beloved fellow. One thing I should note is that I was sitting in the corner chair there, which is my chair, and I hate when that happens again. I thought I had turned it off. I heard Ducky's mother speak to, I think, one of the policemen who was here, and she gave the most beautiful thank you to the police for the response that they gave to her and to Ducky. That was not reported. That was ignored. And the meeting was, from where I was sitting and watching, a free-for-all of hatred to everything that organized government and democracy represents. Sure, there was, excuse me, these are just my thoughts, and it's not the thoughts, and I'm not bringing the positions or the interests or the statement of the select board. My own thoughts are that people in the room, including the town manager, who I voted to appoint 12 years ago, the police chief, who I happen to, I'm 82. I've been watching the Danvers Police for 82 years. I trust my own observations, and we are developing a very, very attentive, courteous police department with a very competent chief. And if it weren't, I wouldn't say so. And so we had a free-for-all, not a reasoned discussion of a very sad, awful thing that happened. There was no mention of the responsibility, the fundamental responsibility and right of parents to bring up their children and to know what their children are doing before school and after school. No mention of parental responsibility. There was some blaming of the school department, which is a very expensive school department that I have voted on every year for 50 years, and I have no children. I have no resentment about paying for your children, because this town paid for my mother and 9 of her siblings who were the children of Polish immigrants, and they got a great education in this town. And I still believe, and I watch it carefully even though I'm not on the school committee, we have a great school department, people trying very hard. When I'm down at the movies or over at the sub shop or something, and I see kids with the Danvers High School emblem or St. John's Prep where I went, I always ask them, are you a student at the Danvers High? You are. How do you like it there? We love it there. I don't hear negative responses from kids who go to our public schools. And I know a lot of kids want to go to the Aggie. I love cows. I might have wanted to go to the Aggie rather than the Prep. I'm not sure. I didn't have the opportunity. I was so ashamed of the behavior of the people in the room. Tuesday night, I don't know if anybody watched it. There was no advance warning. It was a publicity stunt by a group of haters in this town who use the Facebook, facemonger, whatever it is, I call it the cesspool, to spread hatred, ridicule, lies, and anti-police, anti-government, anything. I'm told that they rip me to shreds every single day on the Facebook. Good luck if you've got nothing better to do than pay attention to my life on Facebook. You ought to get a life, okay? And people say, did you watch that the other day? Did I watch what? Facebook? No, I don't put my head into a cesspool. I don't like the smell. And I don't like the smell of that community forum where there is hatred back and forth every day. Those people who engage in that, they were here Tuesday night. They were the ones that asked all their friends to come and scream and holler against government. It wasn't against police safety. It wasn't for the safety of poor Ducky. It was to express hatred for this government. Why? I don't know. Maybe because they see it on MSNBC and they see it in the Rachel Marrett, all those shows, which I watch, I don't anymore. 3 years ago, I was watching the news, and I was talking to another retired judge friend of mine. And I said, this is making me sick watching this stuff every morning because I can't stand it. And there was silence. And Judge Maha died in December, but he's a very wise and helpful man. After about 30 seconds of silence, he said, why do you do that to yourself? Whereupon I switched on YouTube animal shows. David Attenborough, I have watched every one of his shows 10 times, and all kinds of documentaries about fish and seaweed and the wildebeest migrating on the Serengeti. The people who shouted and screamed at me and told me Tuesday night that they wanted me to resign okay, I think I will do that when my term comes up in 6 months, but not because those disgraceful, rude, thoughtless people told me to. So I guess what I'm bringing from just one member of the select board is a total loss as to what to do about that hatred. What to do about the unfairness of what happened on Tuesday night. Because people see what they see, and on national television, people see what they see. And I don't watch the polls. I don't watch a poll about me. I never did and won't. And all I can say is, I think that this, I tried to say it Tuesday night, and I tried to say it in a letter that I sent to Paul today that I had written about a year ago, and I think I copied the members of the commission. And that's who I am, across the street with one of the 5 rainbow flags in this town, that's all, and representing the 2,000 to 3,000 lesbian, gay, bisexual people who are afraid to be identified in the town of Danvers, to experience the same, but not the intensity of the fear that poor Ducky suffered from those 4 hoodlums, whoever they are. And I would love to have the parents of the 4 hoodlums in here at the next select board meeting to ask them what they do to pay attention to their children's behavior and their bicycles in the afternoon. And how do we get to a point of, as David McKenna has eloquently said, not just tonight, but for the last 30 years, how do we build and bring together people so that there will be cooperation in problem solving rather than screaming about problems? And I don't know, and I guess I'm too old to even face the problem. And that's why I come again tonight to just say hello to you, to thank you for your work. We have done more for inclusion and welcome in the last 10 years than has ever. Bartha has been a moral compass, along with Dee, along with Paul and the rest of you, and those like McKenna who started 30 years ago before any of this fairness stuff was fashionable. It was fashionable to him and fashionable to a substantial number of people in this good town who just don't know how ugly, thoughtless, hateful. There is a small group clustered around, and 6 or 8 or 10 of them were in the room on Tuesday night. If you want to see who they were, go and watch the rerun and look at them, and you can tell. And you will tell also in that room of well-intentioned, good people who care about safety, taking care of children. Don't tell me that for a single day of my 82 years, I didn't care about the children in this town, because I did and I do. And I also think right now, the police that we have in Danvers, by and large, and historically it hasn't always been this way. We have had some real troublemakers, and I don't think we do anymore. And so all I guess is, rather than bring anything from a select board, I just bring my own thoughts and my own sense of helplessness as to what I can do to help bring people together. And the first thing and only thing that I can do is attempt to speak the truth of what I see and know that other good people are doing the same thing. Thank you for listening me out.
Thank you very much, Judge Mills. Lieutenant Sullivan, anything to report?
I hope I'm not one of the troublemakers.
You're not.
He complimented the police.
I might, before, just in response, practically everything that the Inclusion Committee has done in the last, I don't know how many years Rob has been there, but he's there, Chief Lovell is there, we have tremendous, and we had it with Chief Ambrose, God rest him. He was the chief when we first brought the rainbow flag to the police station and to the fire station and to the other fire stations and to the schools. So we've had some really wonderful support, not just from Rob and the chief, but from others as well.
Thank you.
Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with the beginning of the month. The Lappin Foundation sent out an invitation for people to join them. So Chief Lovell and I went to Marblehead on October 7th for an evening to remember and unite the attacks of October 7th of last year. I'm going to read from their flyer because I couldn't say it better than this, but it was simply an evening. Join us as we gather our community for an evening of prayer, poetry, song, and acknowledgement of our collective grief and drawing comfort and strength from being together. It was an incredibly somber but emotional and moving evening to hear from, I think a lot of what I've seen of this so far is things on TV. To hear from people how it has affected them and their families. It's something I won't forget. So I'm glad we got a chance to go over and I was in Marblehead, go over and show our support for the community. After that, I know there's a lot of interest about the case involving Ducky. So at this point, I can say that it's an active and ongoing investigation, so it would be inappropriate for me to comment further than to say that I do have direct knowledge into the people who are working on the case. I have seen their work over the past several days. They have been very active. They have been conducting interviews, attempting to gather evidence, and they are in very close contact with the victim and his mom from the time of the incident up until now. And we are keeping them in close consultation as we make every step forward. Our criminal investigators, along with our patrol officers and school resource officers, have partnered with the district attorney's office in moving the investigation forward. So that's all I can say at this point specifically about the case. On a personal note, I don't know if anybody knows, but Ducky is a fixture at the police station. He has been for several years. I believe it started when he was a student. He would come with our officers regularly for ride-alongs. There are a couple of kids well, Ducky's not a kid anymore. He's a grown man, but in my mind, I remember him always as being younger and coming for ride-alongs. He's one of the group of students that has done that several times a year throughout the years. And I can tell you, every time we see him, every time I see him, I was in the library parking lot just the other day putting up a "Please don't go the wrong way" down a one-way street sign, and Ducky rode his bike by. And he saw me out there working and stopped and said hello, and as always, just had a giant smile on his face just to, I guess, see one of us and talk to one of us. So to see something so violent and so horrible happen to such a kind person, it's upsetting to us on a personal level. But I can tell you, we will do anything and everything we can to bring this investigation to a resolution and forward the findings to the district attorney's office and the courts for their appropriate action.
Thank you, Chief. Lieutenant.
Thank you.
No money, though. Board members have any questions?
I know you can't give names, but have they identified the culprits yet, or can you even say that much?
So I think as interviews go on, I think additional information is added, but I do not think that this is a case where individuals are not identified.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else here like to comment?
Yeah, I just want to comment on the situation as a whole and not taking away from what happened to Ducky, which is absolutely horrible, but drawing attention to really a systemic issue in this town of bullies. And for a fact, I can say that many of our Black, brown, queer kids face this every single day. They have bruises, they come home with bruises, and there is no rage when that happens. There is no T-shirts for them. There are no fundraisers for them. So what I would like to draw attention to is the systemic issue of bullying, because kids are not born bullies. they learned that from somewhere. They learned the families. And from what we saw on Tuesday night, we saw adult bullies in this very room. And we're so quick to vilify the children. We're so quick to draw punitive measures instead of bringing a community together to deal with this issue of this systemic issue in this town. And that is what I want to draw attention to. That is what I want us to work on and come together as a community to do. All of this is wonderful. All of the support for Ducky is wonderful. I do want to see that same support for the rest of our children. And I'm not seeing that. And I have not seen it in the 7 years of living in this town, in the 3 years of having, 5 years of having children in the public school in this town. I have not seen that same support. So that's what I want to draw attention to. I do not want to focus on the negative Facebook comments. I do not want to know what people are saying about this committee. I want to know what we can do as a committee and come together to address this, whether it's conversations, whatever it is. But I want to stop focusing on the negative, the punitive measures, the vilifying of children, and really focus on what the adults in this situation can do.
Thank you, Shilpa.
Yes.
Jorge, anything?
No.
Aaron?
Bill?
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sure.
May I just, from the viewpoint of an old lawyer, during the community discussions and the repeated newspaper stuff with respect to the hockey team bullying, there was repeated expression of frustration that the school committee and the lawyers on the committee, Scamius and,
Eric Crane.
Eric, who followed the law absolutely correctly, because there are so many protections for young people under our Massachusetts law. Same thing with the police. When the police say, this is under investigation and we can't really say much tonight. And people say, frustration, that's public stuff. Why don't you say it? Because they can't say it. And they will be penalized if they say it. And the potential case going to trial, if there is one, is going to be penalized by what is publicly said. And so I'm just going to ask us to ask the public to understand that there are rules and laws, and if all of the rules and all of the laws are followed, ordinarily it results in justice, which is something we all want. So please don't be impatient with the school committee, the select board, any of our agencies or people who are dealing especially with younger people. There is no freedom. I'm looking for the freedom to bring the parents of those kids in here to explain in public how they have failed in their toilet training.
And that's my point, Judge Mills. That's exactly my point, is as a community, we need to come together. I'm not pointing fingers at at our local government or our police department or our school committee. But it is a systemic issue in this town, as many of us have faced. And that's something we really need to have those difficult and hard conversations if we're going to make any changes or move forward in this town. Thank you.
David?
Judge Mills, I just question whether we could bring the parents in public like that, because wouldn't you be tacitly identifying their children then?
Perhaps, I don't even know if it can be
That might be
done.
an issue.
It might be a legal issue.
But,
too, yeah.
I'm not sure we could publicly do that, but hopefully the police and the school department and whoever else is involved will find a way to get together with the kids, the parents of the perpetrators in this case, and the other kids that are acting up, and talk some sense into them before someone else gets seriously injured or killed.
And I think we are all aware that bullying is an epidemic in the entire country, and that Danvers is part of the entire country. And I don't know what to do about it.
Mr. Chairman, I just would like to reiterate something I heard earlier, right? So that the bullying, right, is not exclusive to a younger generation. And so I I'm a visual person, I'm a visual learner, I show up in the world visually, it's how I, how I contribute to this community and the state as a whole. And so allow me just a visual illustration, and I don't have it quite right. It has something to do with smoke and it has something to do with fire. But the idea that an incident as is on our kind of collective front page this week is sort of the bright flames that are kind of going on. But what we're not looking at is kind of the sort of the larger ring of fire that kind of makes that possible. This analogy is not working. We can workshop this later. But the thing is, it's like we put all of our attention towards this incident, right? And everybody's response to it, we're responding to the symptoms and not looking at the root cause. That's a clearer, more concise way of putting it. So I understand that my fellow committee member, I understand Mr. Kobe's remarks to sort of be saying, how do we address these root causes? Because we were here with the hockey incident, as it's known, we're here again. And how often, how long, how many times are we going to arrive here again without doing the work, the in-between work, proactively? Because this reactive position doesn't really get us actually very far. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this topic? Well, I liked everything you said, Karen. But I always like the proactive versus the reactive. I don't care whatever we do, whatever policy it is, whether it's an event, if you can get ahead of things, solve problems before they happen, we're going to be a much better town. And I'll leave it at that. Now, I'm going to ask for a little patience according to the, as we look at the agenda. I'm going to move it around just a little bit because I want to get to the next gen request. We have Isaiah Young here, and I don't want to have him take him away from his homework and all the things that he has to do. So Isaiah, would you give us a little background? I passed out a short description when Janelle Ridley emailed me about this event that's taking place down in Washington, D.C. The members can see it. There is a request for some financial help, but I would like Isaiah to just fill us in on what takes place. And you've been there, I hope, on that event, or not?
No, I've not been on this event, but this time on November 17th, Next Gen will be taking the Next Gen leadership group down to the Holocaust Museum and African American Museum, just to get a better understanding of everything essentially. And then from there, we're planning to do the Alabama trip later down on the line in June. But we were wondering if you guys wanted to join us on November 17th for the trip to DC.
Okay. I think I might have mentioned it to a few of our members, but any of you that would like to go are welcome to go. I imagine you have to pay your own expenses as you go along, and
I believe
that's
so, yes.
understandable. We're not going to try to freeload on anyone, certainly. But there also is a request that Isaiah didn't mention, and there's a request for financial assistance. All right, and I would wonder what the feelings are. I'm not sure the request, they want to raise $1,500 for the trip. They're not asking for $1,500, but it's up to us as to how much we would like to help, if we would like to help. And so I was just wondering what the feelings of the committee are. And so I'm going to start off with Bill today, this one. Pretty good curveball, huh, Bill?
Yeah. What funds do we have available to pull on to?
We have funds in our friend's account, okay? I'm not going to post that. That's the treasurer's job. But I don't think we're going to talk about that tonight. But we could make a substantial offering easily. I'll just put it that way, okay? And we would not break the bank, all right?
Good, we should do it.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, since the Friends is separate from this organization, would that be a separate conversation with the Friends?
No.
Oh, okay.
We talk about it here as a committee, I believe, David, and then
We recommend to the
then we
Friends,
have-
the Friends would have to vote on
we
it.
would have to vote on it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But good question. David?
I support it.
Dr. Desmond?
Yeah, I think that in the light of everything that we've been talking about today and the concerns that have been expressed by many people in this room and other people in the community, it's important that we take a more aggressive stance on how do we bring younger generations into activities and efforts that are going to give them a broader scope of what's going on in the world. I mean, if you visit the Holocaust Museum and you see what civilizations can do, what happens in civilizations that start deteriorating, falling apart, causing chaos in the world, it's critical for our young people to see this. It's critical for our young people to visit the African American Museum in Washington, D.C. for two reasons. One, that's history. That's what happened in this country. The second reason is that's what changed in this country. And that's the message that I think that we have to send to young people, and that we have to play a role in helping to facilitate, is to see what happened in the history of our civilization that we've transcended beyond, and why it's critically important for us to be educated about those historical realities so that we can present a better perspective on what the future is going to look like. And so I'm fully in support of our supporting this effort. I think it's very important, I'm going to speak about this a little bit later today, that we think about what are the things that we can do that I think all citizens in Danvers who think about it, what are the things that we can do that will be beneficial to our children, that will equip them to be the leaders of the future? And we have to take a very responsible perspective on that. Maybe we have to talk about it beforehand, but we have to take a responsible perspective on what do we want our children to do about this country in the future. And it seems as though to me that studying the past and visiting memorials that we have in this nation established so that we can understand the past, that it's essential that our children be exposed to them and be aware of those. They can make their own opinions as a result of it, but the fact is if they're not exposed, they're not going to know.
When my daughter was in high school, she and her mom went to the Holocaust Museum, and they said that was the most important part of their whole trip to D.C.
Yes.
Yes, for me, I would definitely want to know, obviously in the separate meeting, how much funds we have and then what we need to allocate towards the events that we haven't had yet.
Yes.
And then I would utilize that information to determine how much we could support. Obviously, you know, I'd pay for it all if I had a check right now, but I definitely want to make sure that the funds exist in order to support. So I would be in favor of doing a little bit more research, and then as long as it exists, then providing some support.
I think we have to act quickly because it's
Correct. The
30
timing of
days,
it
yeah.
all.
We're
Yeah,
talking
correct.
basically 30 days. I'm in favor of this, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I would like to know,
Shelby.
by when would you need the funds? Because I'm assuming they're planning, you'll have to plan.
Yes, we've already begun planning for November 17th. I can follow up with you guys on an exact date we'd need the funds by, but yeah.
Yeah. That would be helpful, and I also want to echo everything that Dr. Charlie said, and also Johan. I agree with all of that.
Okay, next, Jorge, anything?
Yes, I would like to,
Would you like to go, Jorge?
no, I would not like to, I would like to go, but I can't.
The only reason I ask is his daughter is going to go into college down there, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She's in Baltimore. Yes, I think that Johan said it best, that if we have the funds, like,
Oh,
I
yes.
would, like I said, I'll write you a check today if I could, but we do have other commitments. I think we could come up probably with some of it, not all of it. I do have a question about, is Next Gen, do they accept donations, like, you know?
So yeah, actually this is a little bit more about what I wanted to talk to you guys about, is so right now, Ms. Ridley is transitioning out of Next Gen, and we're having a new advisor come in, and with that is like, we have to start fundraising a lot more, and so if there's any way, like, I'm not saying like you guys provide us money, but like helping collaborate on fundraising or fundraising projects would be very beneficial to Next Gen as a whole.
I would cut you a personal check for some of
Same
that.
here.
Yeah.
So that's beyond, okay? Beyond. Take a check for 2,000?
I mean, I will, but
Karen?
So just to clarify, Isaiah, it sounds like you're making this trip within a day.
yes, it's a day trip entirely, and we come. So we do the trip in a day. We go. No.
So
It'll take you 9 hours to get there.
So, yeah, I lived there for 30 years, so I
Okay.
speak with some authority about this. It's not just the distance you're going. These two museums are extremely emotionally draining spaces. You do not want to rush through either one of them. You want to process the experience. I think it's very interesting that they're being done together. And what it reminds me of is what Isabel Wilkerson writes about in Caste when talking about the Third Reich, and when they looked at the United States and the Jim Crow and segregation and the legacy of enslavement in this country, they didn't want to go as far as this country had gone, which is sobering, which is an understatement, right? It's crazy. So to put them together, there's an intention. I know there's an intention, right, in putting them together. But either one of them, it is just a lot to take in. It doesn't matter how old you are. I mean, it's just like if you've got it's just a lot. Yeah. So I mean, your calendar's your calendar, but I think if you're doing this within a day, you're gonna, whoever's doing the driving of whatever vehicle, right? You're gonna. I mean, people do this, like you drive through the night. You're young. I mean, you're not driving through the night.
Not me.
Okay. But I cannot underscore, like, as you and Ms. Ridley design the day, or whoever's designing that day, it's almost that you can't see everything at both museums. And so to design that with intention and the space. And what I would also love, I hope somebody from here can join you, or more than one person can join you. But I would love to sort of be able to kind of talk with you and Ms. Ridley about how this journey, how this conversation, the conversations that will start there, can come back to Danvers. In part, this very much relates to what we were just talking about, right? And in terms of addressing root causes. So I would love to see how, right, this isn't just a nice thing to do, right? Like, how do we make this real? How do we bring this home? I think is really important. And I agree with my colleagues in terms of the financial piece. We kind of need to put our own oxygen mask on first and just make sure we've got what we need for this program year before we make a commitment.
Okay.
Any other questions of Isaiah?
Let me take a little bit of the edge off it. There's a donation to it right there. Get
Okay.
it started.
Okay, you're doing pretty good. You want to stay here a little bit longer?
Well, yeah. Do you have any other questions? Also, I think a good analogy, sorry, I don't want to interrupt earlier, would be a match. Like,
Yes.
we always look at the fire, but we're not looking at the match or how that match started. Yeah, so.
That's a good creative partnership, Isaiah. Thank you. Thank you.
But Isaiah, one, is it going to be a bus trip? Is that what's going to
So, from my understanding, we'd actually be flying into DC. So, yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
That's different than
And you're
driving all the
flying
way.
back later in the evening? I
Yes.
Okay.
And would be, yeah, I entirely understand. These museums are like very, very impactful. Like the Legacy Museum was like a very impactful experience. So I understand like doing all that all in one day can be a lot. So I'm gonna relay back to Ms. Ridley tonight. I'll be joining you guys for the rest of the meeting. Oh,
I just want to say, in the spirit of brotherhood, I'm going to match whatever David's put on the table. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm matching it. So that's another step in the right direction, okay? In support of the wonderful things you're doing. No, I don't have
Oh,
my
okay.
pocket. I don't walk around with that much cash in my pocket.
That's an interesting view.
All right, okay. Well, we probably have to talk a little bit about, thank you, Isaiah.
Thank you.
But I would like to discuss, have your feelings on, number one, we do want to support, would we like to support this endeavor through some type of donation, and it appears that that's the vibe I'm getting from the committee. All right. Trying to figure out how we go about it, because I think Johan brings up a good point. We have a substantial amount of money in the Friends. And I don't think, by any stretch of the imagination, in my own mind, I'm looking at events which we're going to speak about later. And we do have available funds, not only from Friends, but we have available funds from our budget, our line budget, that can be used for things, other things. I know we have bills right now that we have to pay. And we also, in the past, have been able to get help from Jasmine's budget. So I don't, without doing any further fundraising right now for this committee, I don't see any reason why we can't get through anything from here all the way through Pride, whatever comes after Pride. Go ahead.
So I know less about this, but in principle, I'm not comfortable. Like in spirit, yes, I will vote yes
Yeah.
for like yes. Once we look, once we have an understanding of what our commitments are and what our needs are, in principle, yes, it would be nice to make some contribution
Right.
to this trip as the HRIC.
Right, okay.
That's as far as I'm willing to take the conversation tonight.
Okay, then my question is to the committee. How do we move the ball to where we are in a position to make a final commitment with a donation as soon as possible, because they're 30 days in, they're 30 days out?
I would think
Any
that-
suggestions?
Yeah, I would think that we could craft we could make what do you call it? A suggestion that the Friends have the final say based on the budget that we need for the other events. So we could approve based on the Friends confirming that we would have full funding for all of our other events before we give X amount.
Is it reasonable for me to ask the Friends to stay right after this meeting concludes with the treasurer too? Okay.
Are we gonna be able to put together that number of what we need for our program?
I think we'll have a pretty good idea.
I would, may I suggest that our executive committee, of the four of you that are sitting
Yeah.
right here, have a conversation that doesn't happen this evening, and to look at the budget for the programming coming up.
We can do that. Can we do that just through email? I would be talking to my two vice chairs, almost everybody up here.
No,
What did-
there are four, as I understand, there are four of you that serve on this executive committee. Yourself as the chair, our two vice chairs, and our treasurer.
Right.
So and what I'm proposing is that the four of you have a conversation.
Okay.
A real, like, not line item, but, like, a really
Oh,
clear.
we've got pretty good
Yeah,
handle on what.
precisely,
And I think
right.
I want to include you because I want to see where you're going with this whole
Right,
thing.
and
Okay.
then we can go towards, and then
Right.
you can go to the Friends.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, those emails would have to be public documents.
That's no problem until it is.
If someone asks for them, they would be public
Yeah,
documents.
I'm trying to
So-
figure out if
I would rather we not do it through email.
okay? Okay, but that's, I'm in no way, I want to, as my esteemed friend Judge Mills says, I want to do everything legally.
Yeah,
All right,
we
So
need
we don't
to
want to put ourselves in, how would we do it? And come up with can I speak with one of the members of this group, including Friends at some point? But could I speak with could I speak with Johan privately, email privately, or does that have to?
Between two of you, yes.
Any more
Okay,
than
then I turn,
Technically, someone could ask for those documents if they wanted to.
all right, how about if I went on the phone?
Legal, but again, you're skirting things. You're dancing on the edge of the knife.
Any help from Al?
Alphonse. So
Alphonse.
what is being referenced here, I'm sorry to hear, referencing violating quorum rules. If you operate under Robert's rules, and you have if you meet and meet quorum, that should be posted as an official meeting. If you do not post that 48 hours beforehand, like you run into a whole bunch of issues.
Right.
So as he's right to have caution. So if you have the executive committee meet 4 members, and your total body is 9, I believe?
Technically, even the subcommittee of 2, if it's
Subcommittee, right.
appointed,
But
is subject to
right,
it.
Caution is well advised and advisable to heed. So if you post tomorrow morning that your executive committee or subcommittee is going to meet in 48 hours to discuss this, free reign. It's going to be a public meeting, which is fine. But you will not run into violating quorum or Robert's rules or open meeting law, which is the big problem. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Well, thank you.
This is one of the big things that we're dealing with.
We needed to hear that from you.
And I think in these scenarios previously, we have reconvened via Zoom with the appropriate notice in order to meet the deadlines that we've had. So that would be something that we could do. We could
And through
choose a
Zoom?
day today
Okay.
to meet via Zoom in 48 hours, and that would satisfy.
However, the Friends is not a government agency, they're not under the same regulations.
No, what would happen is, we would meet by Zoom. As
The
a-
subcommittee,
The
yes.
subcommittee would meet by Zoom, which would be 4 folks, and we're all set with that. Then we decide on X, Y, or Z financially, and then we get in touch with
Friends. Yeah.
And I can do that just through
Yep.
email. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. I think what we'll do is at the conclusion of this meeting, we'll come up with a date that we can meet by Zoom.
Correct.
Okay? All right, so don't anyone go away, all right? All right. All right, thank you very much. Anything else on this, so that we're clear?
Do we have a deadline?
I think as soon as possible. to be honest
ASAP,
with you.
yeah.
That's a November 17th.
For the November 17th?
Yeah, we would like to
Yeah.
circle back as soon as we
Yeah,
can.
there's not a definitive deadline, but as soon as possible.
Have you bought the plane tickets yet?
No.
All right. Well, I'm gonna look at we're gonna look at our calendars when we get finished. and
Of course, yeah.
If we have to do it even early next week, I think it's gonna be.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, we'll talk about it. Okay, anything else on this? Could we move on to the next item?
Paul, just, some other people said something about maybe wanting to donate.
Yeah.
If they can let you know how much they want to donate, then you would know how much we need to raise from the Friends
Okay,
to meet the 1,500 they've requested.
yeah,
That's actually a fair point.
Yeah.
all righty, we'll do that, all right. Anything else?
Yeah.
Karen, you're,
Just, pardon me, Isaiah, could you just clarify how many students are going to be?
Up to the,
2 students.
could you go back to the?
Could you go back to the mic,
Up to
Isaiah,
the mic,
please? Yeah.
Oh, only 2 students?
2 junior students.
2 junior students are
Yes,
going?
it was going to be 4, but 2 of them cannot go that day because they have another trip.
Okay, so 2 current juniors.
Yes.
So they'll be in town for another, junior and senior year, okay. Cool. And then who is traveling with them?
Miss Janelle Ridley and me, and hopefully you guys if you could attend.
Okay, so you're raising you're needing to raise the 1,500 to cover those 4 tickets.
Yes.
And any incidental expenses while you're on the ground in our nation's capital.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
what time's the flight leave?
I do not know yet.
Okay, we'll let you go with that. Anything else?
Thanks, Isaiah.
Thank you very much, Isaiah. All right, I'm gonna move again, that's taken care of, and I'm,
Here, don't leave without grabbing this.
Oh, I'm not leaving yet.
oh, okay. You'll be caught on camera.
Sorry.
All right, we're gonna go to a report from Jorge on the Celebration event.
We had our celebration
Yep.
on the 7th? No, the 5th. The 5th, in the afternoon, and I think it went really quite well. It went, I think we were getting the hang of it. The venue was good, although I think maybe in the future, depending on weather, it might not work so great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, the weather was perfect.
Right.
So it was lovely. In the future, if there's a rain day or something, the rain day this year was supposed to be the Maple Street Church, but we didn't need it. I don't know if maybe we want to just stay at the atrium in the high school
Yeah.
going forward. But that's something we can discuss.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was just curious, did you have a reasonably nice crowd?
I thought so.
That's good.
I think it drew in a lot of people that wouldn't have otherwise come. People off the rail trail, people walking by, who wouldn't have known it, were we in the atrium. But I do see the problem with weather. It was a windy day as well, but it did kind of even out after that. It was a really nice day.
It was a nice day. Yeah, those construction workers that were across the street, they came
Yeah.
over
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Lunchtime?
Yeah.
and checked it out and did some dancing.
That's good.
I think the morning scared people off a little because there was like a light sprinkle of rain in the morning, and maybe that left people with some uncertainty on the day, even though the day was beautiful. But we definitely had people step in from, people at the fish market came over, people from the rail trail came over, people from across the street, and there were definitely some people driving really slowly that were like, oh, come. So that was great because we wanted to be in the community where people could see us to get some attention for the event. But I definitely would agree with Jorge that at minimum, when it's an indoor venue, people know 100% it's happening regardless, and that is a little bit more certainty for people's plans. So yeah, if we want to stick with an indoor, but I honestly loved being outside. It was great for me.
Yeah, but it was a beautiful day.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day. It ultimately was a beautiful day. Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Sue. Sure.
Sorry,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, if I may. One other thing that we run into with our outdoor events is bathroom use. We had a couple of people ask about that. Where's the bathroom? We did direct them to the Cherry Street Fish Market. There was a porta potty, but it's something to consider when we do our events,
Yes.
when they're outdoors, because there could be people who might need to use the bathroom and we don't have one. So just something to think about.
Or people with mobility issues.
Mobility issues
Can't
as
use
well,
the-
yeah.
The porta
The
potty.
porta potty, right.
Anybody, David, anything?
Oh, I'm sorry I missed it. Too busy a schedule these days.
Dr. Charles? Go ahead.
I ate everyone's share of food who didn't attend, so thank you for staying home.
Well, I'm glad I did that.
Bill?
I was at a Franciscan meeting in St. Louis during it.
Yeah, I was out of
So-
town myself, too. Let me, just listening is, if the weather had been unfavorable, would the crowd have been able to move into the church and comfortably?
Yes, we had conversations with Maple Street Church that morning, and we were in communication with Reverend Douglas. So we did have the provisions. We did touch base with him first thing in the morning. So they were on standby for us, and they were ready if we needed them. The forecast did show that it was going to clear up, though. So once we saw that it actually was clearing up, we did tell them, we wouldn't need it anymore. Yeah.
It just would seem to me that that's an ideal spot from what you've described. You've got construction workers coming over,
rail
you
trail.
have rail trail people right there, and you have an indoor facility if needed. Whereas, if you went to the high school, yes, you would have a little more room maybe, but I don't think you're gonna have that type of traffic, so it's up to you guys and probably us to decide at some point, but I'm glad it worked out well. Anything else on that report? If not, we'll move on to MLK. Karen?
Yes, well, I will use a little bit of a segue. One of the things I really loved at Celebration was all of the student art. It was amazing, and it was like, oh my gosh, they're not just doing this at MLK, they're doing it here today, and so it was just extraordinary. So, yes, in terms of MLK, which will be the late afternoon of January 20th. So at the moment, Johan is representing the executive committee on our committee, and we'll be adding 2 members from the community and coming on to support that. And let's just see, continuing to work in partnership with Mary Wormers, the Assistant Superintendent of DPS, as related to the art and to music. And last year, we had the MLK Move Like King banner, which is traveling around town, which we've been mentioning. Again, thanks to Lieutenant Rob and his colleagues. And this next year, instead of a banner, because we've got a beautiful banner, we don't need 2 banners, we are going to have a bench, a conversational bench, where the conversations that begin on January 20th can be continued in Danvers throughout the following year and for years to come, quite frankly. And so the production of that bench, the location of that bench, that is all, we're all in conversation about that, but the desire is for it to be in a fairly prominent position downtown. So there'll be more to come on that. So the bench would be at the event, and as the community members painted on the banner, they can also be painting the bench. 2 invitations to the community and those of us in this room are, if you have a business or an organization with public display space, let me know, because we'd love to eventually get you a flyer. We'll be putting those up probably just in early December, but just to get them out and in front of people so that they're familiar with it and get it on their calendars. And then also, you may remember last year we started something new, and we had 5 community members speak very briefly about how they move like King. And this year we'll be having 3 of those speakers. So if there are folks that you have in mind, or you yourself believe that you move like King truly, please, we're kind of beginning to take those names, and then we'll have a selection process and inviting 3 folks to speak, along with a featured speaker who we'll talk about in the coming months. So that is MLK, and yes, we will be having a budget conversation about that too.
Okay. Question I have is, well, let's go to the committee. Charles?
No questions at this point.
Charles?
No questions. Sounds great. Sounds like it's moving along well.
Joanne?
No questions at this time.
Philip?
No questions, but I do love the idea of a conversation bench.
No questions.
No questions.
From listening to you, this is going to be a physical bench.
Yes.
Bench. People can sit, chat,
Yes.
talk. All right. Good. Now, you don't have any idea where you're going to place it yet, do you?
I have
Or
ideas,
do you?
but
You-
they're not
You're
for.
not ready for,
No, not yet.
okay.
It's not in stone yet, so,
Okay.
yeah. Haven't anchored it down yet. If you have ideas of places, feel
No,
free
not
to give
yet.
those to
No,
me
no.
offline,
Just
but,
curious, that's all.
yeah.
The other thing was, that do you have a subcommittee now helping you?
Yes, so Johan we're working together, and then we're gonna add 2 members from the community. So, just as a way to kind of build up the committee's kind of bank of supporters and
Okay.
volunteers.
When you get the community volunteers, would you give me a heads up if you decide to have an in-person meet?
Yes, yes,
I'd just like to sit down and
yeah,
zip it up and
yes,
open them up over here. on
For
my
sure.
audience. Sure, okay.
most
Any
definitely.
other questions? All right, we're going to move on from MLK. The next one is a tough one. This is going to be the decision on HRIC events. We've talked about it, I believe, once or twice. We've had some surveys done, I believe. You can fill me in, Joanne, on all this. I'm going to turn it over to you to discuss.
So previously in our September meeting, and I think a little bit prior to the summer as well, we started having some conversations about the events that we have for our calendar year, and if in fact we were able to sustain those events with our committee size and some of the other community matters that come up that we also want to be able to support. We all did our own kind of reflection, and I should say, I don't want to say ranking, but our own listing. And there were people had varying thoughts on that. I just wanted to come back to that conversation, considering that it is October, and if we are considering eliminating or changing any of the events, it really should be as soon as possible so that we're all in the know, and if we wanted partners, that we have time to contact those stakeholders and get them involved as well. One of the things we also discussed was the possibility of obtaining partners in some of the events so that there would be extra hands on deck and extra volunteers. as well. We talked about several different entities in the town that could potentially partner with us. So without, we've already had Celebración, we know the other events, so I don't know if we want to just go down. How would you like to frame it, Paul? Because we did have the larger meeting where it was already discussed, so that doesn't necessarily need to take place again.
Okay. Well, let me throw out some things. I see, this is my own personal feeling now, I see Celebration as being a fixture, all right? It fits into the calendar very well. October's good. I don't see from what I see budget-wise that it's gonna put a big strain on our overall budget and ability to fund that particular event. At least right now. I feel we should continue with MLK without a doubt, in my own mind. Now, these are my own feelings, other people may have different feelings. And I do see us continuing the Pride event. However, I don't see any movement from Town Hall on Pride. This is me again now, so please, okay? Moving Pride from the Town Hall, raising the flag, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been on that organizing committee for 2 years, and I have no problems with where we had it last year. I thought it worked out well, but I'm not so sure what the financing is going to be. And we have to talk about that at some point, too. And then also celebration of the African American February. All right. Those would be the 4. They're pretty big events. And I don't know, you have to educate me on how much we got involved financially as a committee with the February event.
I don't believe we did
And
get
you don't
financially
see
involved
that
as a
being,
committee.
It's an issue.
It can be a costly event, but we kept it relatively small last year because it was an addition to our year, and so we didn't break the bank is the best way to put it. I think Jasmine gave some of her budget.
yes.
And that was essentially it. The other thing I would say is, if we are gonna meet in 48 hours or possibly 4 days, we might be able to add this to that Zoom as well, if we think that more time might be warranted.
Okay.
Just throwing it out as an option.
I believe that if we can decide on a time to meet by Zoom, I can come down and get it posted tomorrow perhaps, before 12 noon, because they close here at 12 noon.
Oh, yeah, on a Friday, yes.
Right, so I would be favoring doing that. That would give us, but we have to get it, I just have to make sure on the postings, because Columbus, I don't want to say that.
Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Indigenous Peoples'
Indigenous
Day.
Peoples' Day, yes. That being a holiday, almost threw a monkey wrench into having this meeting here tonight. If I hadn't thought about it quick enough, you'd been getting emails from me postponing. So we'll solve that, and, but that's my thought. Now, the other, to move on, and I really want to hear from the committee on this right at this point. I don't see any problems with some of the other events that we have, menorah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Juneteenth, I'm not sure we
I
got them
think
all covered. What do you
With
think?
Juneteenth, I think we could partner with the North Shore Juneteenth Association.
Right,
And really move towards having a flag raising
okay.
here at Town
Yeah.
Hall.
Okay.
But
We
I-
have another, and I apologize, but going back just a second, 'cause I'll forget, we have a couple of other ideas about Pride also, okay? And it doesn't mean anything other than partnering with folks, which may help. So we'll see how that works out, but I don't see ever Pride leaving, okay, myself.
Yeah.
I welcome discussion. Anything else, Johann, on that?
No, that's it for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Charles?
You wanna-
I'm good.
David?
I think the issue with our events are not the events themselves, it's the resources and having, people help with the events.
Well, we're gonna-
That's the
That's
issue.
gonna work out.
So I think that
Guaranteed.
identifying stakeholders in the community, identifying people that we can collaborate with might be helpful.
Okay. I think we all agree that we have to take more apart. And I understand some of us can't, but I can. all right? So we're gonna go forward with that, and we're gonna work on this next gen in relationship to events and friends. Correct? Okay. Anything else on that particular topic? All right? So we're still looking at these events. We haven't made any final decisions, but we're okay, I think. I'm gonna jump right to the banners. I think I mentioned the banners. We have the dates for those Pride banner and the MLK event. That's all taken care of through the town clerk's office.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And we're moving down here. I'm going to table the Native American, the plaque we talked about. I'm going to table that for another time. I think we're going to try to talk to Historical Society also when we.
They've
there's gotta be
expressed
some
interest.
Yeah, there is.
I think we need to reach out to the Native American Awareness
Yes.
Association as well, get some input from them as well.
Well, we're going to bring that up at the November meeting.
Okay.
We're going to bring it up at the November meeting, okay? So let's go to I want to go to Dr. Desmond, item 13. We have talked about setting up the scholarship committee as is, and then the educational committee. Dr. Desmond texted me about some of his ideas about the scholarships. I'd like to have him discuss some of those things and see where we are with those two topics.
Yeah, well, I didn't really expect that, and plan for our having a public discussion about this tonight. I was just raising it as an issue that I thought we needed to talk amongst ourselves about.
Okay.
But I will be happy to just put a little flavor around it, which is that I think that I work in higher education. Everybody knows I've been in academic life for many, many, many years. I think scholarship fund is a wonderful thing for us to do, and I appreciate that. I think it's been great. And I'm not saying that we need to put the scholarship fund to the side, but I think relative to the resources that we have, I'm wondering as well whether or not we should be thinking about what are the things that we can do with students that are in school right now that really demonstrates HRIC support of students and things that they're doing in schools, things that they're doing with regards to trips that they may want to take to historic sites in the Commonwealth and beyond. I just think that there are some ways that we can demonstrate to the broader community that we're collaborating with the schools in our education system relative to the work that we're doing. And I think many, many young people want to be involved. They are involved already, but there may be ways that we can help. So I think we need to give some more thought to that, but I just wanted to get it on the agenda as one of the items that we might want to consider as we look to the future.
Well, I think when you texted me, there was a mention of students in community schools, community colleges, and you know, not that they're there now, but if they're going there, they could use that type of financial scholarship. Not that one can't use it. I mean, everybody needs a little bit of help. But I know I've been on some of these committees over the years too, and sometimes you get an applicant that has the need, and then you get applicants that don't have the need, but they just apply. So I think what we have to do is decide, you know, where do we want to direct the money? And to who, excuse me. And I will say this personally from my own experience. I haven't been on the scholarship committee for a number of years, but it's very tough, I think, to make a decision if you have 2 or 3 real good candidates. But if you really want to make an impact on someone's start in college, I think you have to give one person a good amount of money. When you split it up 3 ways or 2 ways or 3 ways, you water it down in my mind. Now, that doesn't mean everybody has to believe me, go along with me, but that's just my own personal feeling. Karen.
Could I just clarify with Dr. Desmond? I understood you to perhaps suggest that you're interested in widening the conversation beyond simply funding a scholarship or a series of scholarships to actually be in conversation about how we can financially and perhaps also not take over programming, but programmatically partner with students and engage them in work that is parallel or sort of aligned with what the HRIC is doing. Is that what,
Yeah.
a conversation you also
that's
had?
a conversation I think that would be worthwhile for us to have. I think that the broader community would see more tangibly.
Yes.
If we were doing things with young people while they were actually engaged and enrolled and participating on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
As opposed, and I'm a big scholarship guy.
Yeah.
But giving a scholarship to students that are going off to campuses and may
Right.
be gone for
Right.
some long time in the future.
Yeah.
Doesn't really give us the impact that I think it would be beneficial for us to have at this time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a need for this right now, I feel.
Well, I would love to be part of that conversation. I see it has kind of a ripple effect going wide, but also a chance for us to deepen. I see that we could begin to apply some of this thinking and approach within the MLK event. It's already evident in possible partnership with the Next Gen trip. And it again kind of underscores what we were talking about earlier with really kind of looking at root causes.
Yeah.
It's great.
Thank you. Any other input from the committee?
I agree.
Bill?
Well, I just want to, Lions gave out 2 scholarships last year. We had 10 people that were all equally qualified for them, so
You know the
it's
problem
difficult to
there.
decide on who gets scholarships.
Thank you.
No, I absolutely agree with Dr. Desmond. I would love to be a part of that too. And I think we have such limited funds when we give out those scholarships, and we have to be so intentional about what we do. And I think that being consistently engaged instead of just through the scholarship would definitely have more impact on the students, on our community. So yes, I would love to have a longer conversation and be a
Okay,
part of
good.
this. Yeah.
Jorge?
I would like to be part of this conversation also. I believe Johan brought it up. We had a little conversation the other day about the scholarship, you need to go big,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't know that we have the means to really like impact one person's scholarship. So I don't know if we should completely do away with that or involve ourselves, in the community more with the schools, get involved with them, fund trips, stuff like that. I don't know if that would widen the impact to more people instead of one kid. But I think particularly, I'm feeling it because my kids are in school or in college that,
And it's expensive.
it's expensive and you need a big chunk of change to really impact somebody's schooling.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
maybe we should consider putting our money towards some programs during the year and then giving awards at the award ceremony, a certificate rather than a cash award, something recommended by some of the staff of the school that these kids deserve some recognition.
Say that again, say the beginning.
Just give them, put our money toward programs during the year, as Charles was suggesting. And then instead of giving scholarships at graduation, give awards, a certificate of appreciation or of merit or something along that line.
Right.
A concept to think about.
Okay, now Charles, Dr. Charles, would you, that's what happens when you get involved.
Yes.
Would you head up?
That's why you put it on the agenda. So you knew you were going to get me looped in. No, I'm just-
I would like to have you organize that, be in charge of
I
the
think
scholarship,
I'm
okay?
happy to have a
And you
discussion.
already have, I think, some volunteers
I
already.
got 3 volunteers already. It's fabulous.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
What have we given for scholarships in the past?
I don't know offhand. I want to say somewhere neighborhood of 2,500.
This past year, we dispersed $2,000 between 3 people.
3 people.
So we could cut that back drastically and still give a couple scholarships and have money for other things.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we've got to meet together. We've got 3 to 4, everything going on, and.
A lot of thoughts cooking, yeah.
Unless David McKenna wants to write a check. Anyway.
I didn't bring a checkbook.
No checkbook, yeah, that's one thing I never do. And so it's early enough in the year that we can get moving on scholarships, because they're going to come
Yeah.
around, I don't know, March, I think is when they start to crank up at the high school.
Or is it January, I think?
Really? Well, we'll work it out.
I think they have a book that they want to have printed for the kids or students on what scholarships are available.
Right.
'Cause I know we do it at the Historical Society too. I know there's a deadline.
Yeah,
And I think
well,
it's
there's a
quite early.
deadline, yes.
But you could say we're giving scholarships and then later
Yeah,
figure the amount out.
yeah.
And on the Education Committee, I, with Jasmine, met with the principal, not the principal, who did I meet with?
Superintendent.
Superintendent. There was one other gentleman in there, I believe. That was, but it doesn't matter. We've agreed to start that again, but I'm going to be looking for folks to sit on that committee, and I will wait until I talk with Jasmine, but I know of people I've got, if anyone's interested, is there anyone here that would be interested in sitting on the Education Committee?
No, I would be.
Wait, Paul, could you just clarify, Education Committee, the HRIC Education Committee, or are you talking about the superintendent's
Superintendent.
Superintendent.
advisory committee? Yeah.
It's not the superintendent's advisory, it's a committee we had from, longstanding from HRIC. Charles was on it, I was on it. Don't know who else was on it. Maybe, I'm not sure.
He was on it for,
Dee was on, well, Dee, yes. As chairman, you're on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Basically,
automatically,
you
yeah.
wanna- don't call him for every meeting, but I am on it, so.
What is the role of that committee?
That's a good question, but it.
Okay,
No,
well,
but,
maybe,
let me try to answer it.
So I will say.
No,
we-
no, there's an answer. It's,
Okay, because we did talk about it a little
right,
bit.
and you're gonna correct me if I'm wrong or
Yeah.
continue on,
Okay,
but
good.
it's sort of fact-finding.
Okay.
It's making sure, it's sort of like the liaison situation, but we schedule meetings. And it doesn't morph into the meetings that we would schedule normally with MLK. So it's a separate. We talk about maybe issues, maybe not issues. We talk about curriculum, and we talk about things that are relative to curriculum. We also talk about hiring. We've always talked about hiring, right, Dr. Desmond?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's that type of thing. It's a free and easy type of situation. And so Karen, you,
In partnership with the school committee or in
no,
partner?
partnership with the superintendent administration, not
Okay,
the school committee.
so I
Oh, I know
just-
who was there, excuse me, Mr. Lopes was there. He's
Yes,
he's
so
the chair, yeah.
Yes, so
Which
he's on
hadn't
the
been
school
before,
committee.
we hadn't had that before.
Okay, so he's on this, I was
Okay.
not comfortable with
sorry,
this
yeah.
left and right hand not being connected. Okay,
No, it's connected.
okay,
Okay.
okay.
Yes,
No,
I mean,
that was.
okay.
what I was confused
No,
about.
it's with the superintendent, and at this point, we talked about it with Jasmine and myself, and Mr. Lopes was there. At times, I think that's the first time we've ever had a chairman of the school committee at one of those meetings. Usually was the superintendent and maybe the high school principal type of situation. Now, that's up to the superintendent, quite frankly, but I think he has a very clear understanding of what we would like
How
to
many
talk
hours
about.
a month did you spend on those
Pardon me?
meetings? How many hours a month did you spend on those meetings?
A month?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that type of thing. It was only almost like a quarterly meeting.
Oh, really? So-
Yeah, it was almost like like I said, it
Not
was
a big-
almost like a liaison type of situation, okay?
So I'm just going to be bold. What I would really appreciate, like in having a full conversation about this, is
Mm-hmm.
that whoever's going to talk about this can talk about this, but sort of in order for us as a committee to be saying, yes, this is something we want to sort of
Uh-huh.
put some power behind, right? Some time, whether it's our individual's time or just anybody's time. It would be really helpful to have in writing, right? The purpose of this, how it works in relationship to the school committee and the public schools, and kind of what's informing it, like what's the purpose, what's the desired outcome, the intention, just to know kind of like what is it meant to be aiming at? Because we've just gone through a process, we're in a process of discussing what events we do and don't do, right? How we spend time and choose to not spend time, right?
Right.
And commitment. So I'm a little wary of creating something for the sake of just creating something because it seems like a
No,
good idea.
I agree, no.
A good idea.
Yeah.
And having said that, I'm going to also throw in one other little kind of broader vision, is that I thought it might be not strictly related to the education in terms of the school system, but education within the community.
That might be another,
And when I say education, I don't mean fully like schools,
oh,
right?
I understand what
But-
you, yeah,
but-
sure.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting topic to discuss.
Saying, Chairman?
Yeah, well,
I will say some of that education of the community has fallen under social advocacy and some of the Heathmere conversations that have been happening already. But with regards to this education committee, when we initially started talking about it, the conversation was about reporting out on that platform for those people who watched that meeting. Just so that we were sure that what information we had here was getting out to that,
Okay.
I guess, let's say, larger audience. We did have some conversation. I actually expressed similarly another meeting with X amount of time. Is there an ability to commit to that? And there was some conversation about possibly rotating who could go there. I don't know where we landed on that, but I think.
that
Are
would,
you saying to the community conversations that Heathmere is doing?
No, what I'm saying is rotating who attends the school
committee meetings,
So
yep.
that, because
Okay.
my initial concern with adding this committee would be the additional timing of that meeting. And, life takes, So just making sure that that's something that could be handled, and we had thrown out possibly rotating
Yeah.
Yeah.
who would go, which would make it a lot easier. So I think it's still tentative and up in the air.
if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, the education committee is separate from the we were talking about that with the superintendent, about the liaison. It would be like a liaison
Yeah.
attends someone, we could rotate it, but would attend the monthly school committee meetings, but that's separate from what this education committee is. But when I convene with Jasmine and/or those that are interested, we're gonna have to discuss in more detail, I think if I hear you correctly, is the details of what is the education committee really looking to do and to accomplish.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, my two vice chairs will keep me, I've got it written down, okay? All right, now, it seems like we're there, just except one other thing, and Johan's gonna talk about a discussion that I've wanted to have for a number of years, but we never really got to it, was a discussion about I think if I worded that right, fundraising committee.
Yes.
So go ahead and.
So, we just wanted to kind of discuss if there would be an opportunity for some sort of fundraising to support our events, even if it was just one annual thing that garnered some sort of financial support for our annual events. Trying to find ideas that wouldn't necessarily be too tasking on the committee, maybe pair it up with something that already has a large number of people attending, I don't know. But apparently this was something that used to happen organically in the past, I think with the MLK event years ago. And with the scope of that event kind of changing, that kind of dissipated. So this year we're okay, but trying to set ourselves up for long-term, just always being funded and having the ability to do the things that we need to do financially. So just something to think about. I don't know if anybody has any suggestions or ideas, but on like light lifts, but I think that as we go through the year, if something comes to mind, maybe we can bring it up and kind of just talk about it as a committee. Oh, sure.
Does Salem have anything to do with something like that?
So, I'm sorry, again, I don't mean to take up time in your meeting.
No, absolutely.
So the Human Rights Coalition in Salem is a mayor's advisory council.
Okay.
So we don't have a line item in the budget. All the money we have is funded
Okay.
So last year we did, we were lucky, there was a restaurant which unfortunately closed, called Flatbreaks, where you could go in and they give you a percentage of the proceeds from the night, and we sold some merchandise and all that and other things. Another thing we're looking into is getting us a speaker, you know, someone with, not an authority, but someone who deals with, you know, human rights issues or inclusion issues on the regular, and have it be a paid event, you know, a ticketed event, that's what I'm looking for. And, you know, pay them out, and then whatever you have on top of that goes into your coffers. There are a whole bunch of things. I was just looking up the UN anniversary of the adoption of the Human Rights Code, which honestly, if you're gonna do an annual thing, that's something to do. Like that's, it right in your wheelhouse. So if you plan something around that, that could be a regular, people know it's there, it's not, you're not piggybacking on something else where too many chefs kind of thing. That might be an idea, whether it be a speaker event or you have a festival or something, something to pull in money. I mean, there's a bunch of things that, you know, you can do there. It just depends on what you're willing to put out for the opportunity to take in.
I mean, the public school just did a walk-a-thon, and they raised a ton of money with that, where I think the kids did the walking on their own, and they had sponsors, and then, you know, you say who it benefits, and if it benefits, you know, the friends, then it benefits the friends. So there's a lot of virtual things as well that can be done. But yeah, speaker event could garner a lot of interest. Yeah, it's a longer conversation to be had, but it definitely should be on our mind as to what would be a good way to continue to have those funds be raised.
It's like when we had Joan Trumpower Holland last year.
Yes,
That would have been a great event too.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Talking about the woman from Germany.
yes.
That could have been ticketed.
That could have been a ticket event. It was a large event.
It was a fantastic event.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let me just, go ahead, Lieutenant Sullivan, you had something?
I think we've discussed it a couple times, but the treasury position has been in flux. All of the events we put on, we don't ask for anything.
Yeah.
I was just about to bring that up.
We have welcome tables at every single one of those events,
Right.
and very often at all those events, we give things away.
Yes.
Nobody except for Mr. McKenna carries cash.
A Venmo account.
So if we had at our welcome table, hey, this is who's putting this together for the community.
Yeah.
Consider making a donation to the Friends. It's smaller than a ticketed event, but we do a lot of them per year, and it, you know, a little bit adds up pretty
Yeah,
quickly.
no, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I
Yeah,
was
that we've
talking about.
talked
And,
about that too.
yeah, and Jasmine's mentioned possibly getting
A Venmo
a
account.
Venmo account.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, just having that QR code at our welcome table, we've talked about that a lot. So
And
we
even
just-
when, if you're not setting them up at our events, the town does have events year long. We have the, I don't think they call it the Citizens Academy, like we used to have the police citizens, it's the town academy. The fire department had an open house.
Yeah.
They were giving
And
away
the
pizza
DPW
or
had one,
something.
the electrical department did one too last
Truck
week.
day.
Touch a Truck Day, so you could essentially set up a
Do it
table.
anywhere.
This is who we are, this is what we do, would you consider donating?
Any other thoughts from the committee? David? Bill? Charlie?
Great.
Joe, are you okay? Well, we heard, thanks, Karen. Well, we're gonna move that into the scope of things. We're gonna discuss it because we have to do this, and I always said, get the big money rather than trying to go out and sell $25 bricks, and you have to sell, I don't know how many thousand of bricks to raise, you know, if we can find people that would be interested in helping us, we can certainly put it to good use, all right? That's it for the agenda, I believe. Is there any new business that anybody wants to bring up? Yes.
I have something I could have brought up earlier. Let me go over there.
Wonderful.
Michelle Chauncey, minutes taker, and I also am vice president of the Friends of the Peabody Institute Library of Danvers Board. And we're having an event that's a little bit different on November 14th at 6:30. And it's going to be a combination of a preview of the Mean Girls production that is taking place the week later at the high school, the musical, and interspersed with talking about bullying, especially as it relates to teen girls. We're having the clinical director and a peer mentor from the NAN Project, who are part of Danvers Cares. It's a nonprofit that serves this area. Well, it's statewide, but it's originated around here, where they go into middle and high schools and talk about mental health awareness and suicide prevention. So that's, when you were talking about bullying earlier, it occurred to me that I should probably bring that up. And of course, it's a free event, would last for about an hour. So we're hoping to bring different people to the library. And it'll be, so it's a win-win for the high school, for the library, and for educating parents and families about these issues. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle, could you email us? You have all our email addresses, or not?
I think things usually go through Jasmine.
Oh, okay, well then,
Michelle, you have mine, so you can send
I
it
do,
to me.
yes.
And I can send it to you.
yes, that's what we need, someone, yeah, I want to get that event and the details.
We're just about to get some materials together. I'm working with a parent on the theater board to get materials, and we'll start promoting it widely at the library too. Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Any other new business?
I just wanted to mention that I don't know if it was already brought up, but there was another incident at the Connors farm, and that is also widely being circulated. So if we're not familiar with it, then we probably should get familiar with it, and if we have any thoughts on providing some sort of statement on some of these things that are going on, then that is another thing that we should consider in a future meeting.
Yeah, go ahead, Shilpa.
Oh, no.
I believe the police are also investigating that now too, right? That Connors Farm incident?
On October 5th.
No?
Not familiar with it.
No, it was in the Salem,
It was in the film.
Salem
Should
News.
Should
Go
I
ahead and,
elaborate?
yes, please.
So Connors Farm, who has previously had a racial incident during the, I want to say 2021 timeframe,
Yep.
unfortunately has had another racial incident where a family was accused of stealing apples after they had already paid for their bag of apples. They were then confronted and assaulted in the parking lot, which led to police being called. Citizens watched the entire incident, and in the police report confirmed what the individual said, that they were in fact attacked. And again, this is not the first time that this has happened at Connors Farm. So that is something that's widely being circulated again in our town. And so I do think the community would be looking to us to say something.
Okay.
Anything else that I missed, Shilpa?
No, it was such a replica of the incident that happened in 2021, and I'm sure these two are not isolated incidents. I'm sure that several have happened, similar incidents have happened at Connors Farm like this. So I think definitely as a committee, we need to make a statement. I don't know if we are seeking a response from Connors Farm or anything, but we definitely need to make a statement. This is not acceptable to people in our community. I, for one, after 2021, have never been to Connors Farm, nor do I plan to go. So it's really not a safe space for several families in our community, and I think it's important for us to take that into consideration and definitely make a statement.
If the committee would like, I do this for other committees. I can gather some information, find out what was reported, what we found. witnesses, victims, other participants, whatever it is, what they gave us, and I can report back to the
That'd be
committee.
great.
You guys can make an informed decision on what you might like to do with it.
Yeah, because we only know what we read in the paper, I believe. I don't know if it made it on TV again or
Yeah,
anything.
it did, unfortunately.
Yeah, so, here we go. Okay. Anything else?
I think especially in light of the fact that the town has made a significant financial contribution to the support of their operation up there, I think we should expect a little more from them. And hopefully we can reach out and improve the situation.
Okay. Anything else?
One last thing, Mr. Chairman, it's probably old business. At the last meeting, I offered my resignation from the committee. In view of what's happening right now, I'm retracting that.
Okay.
I don't want the clowns to put that statement out about all of us having to leave town, think they scared me away. I'm here for a while.
Good.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah,
He's not, you're not,
No, Dave, I deeply appreciate your years of service. And I also am not sure that if you were to continue stepping back, as you very clearly stated at our last meeting, the reasons why you were doing that. Staying so that they don't think that they have chased you away, I'm not sure that that's giving them a certain amount of something that I'm not sure is actually warranted. So I just ask you to consider, because your service is without question, and this is not the only place you're continuing to serve at this time. And having a bit of margin in one's life is also a good thing. And so I would just, as one fellow member of the committee, grateful for what you seeded 30 years ago and what continues and what will continue, whether or not you're sitting on the dais, right? Your legacy is present. I'm just not sure that the reason that you would be staying is a strong enough reason for you to turn back on what you said and when you spoke for yourself.
Did you give us the date then?
A month ago.
I said that I would resign when a replacement was appointed. I don't think we have one in place yet.
Okay.
So I will continue at that time and then request, what do they call it, honorary membership.
Okay.
I can be pretty ornery when I need to be,
yeah, we don't,
as you
like
all
that.
know.
I like that. Okay.
we do not.
Good,
We have,
good.
we have three candidates, just to catch you up, on two available vacancies. Isaiah is one of them, as you know. And we'll get that settled hopefully by November, because it's one of those things I want to run by Jasmine. And I also, I have talked to Mr. Bartha a little bit about it, but he'll be gone by then, obviously, you know that. But hopefully would be before the select board sometime in November. I'm not sure how many meetings, they only have two, but I'm not sure how Thanksgiving
Right.
comes in. So right now, we do have Dee's opening and Kristen's opening to fill right now.
Yeah.
And that'll get us at least to, if Dave's still staying on, we'll be at full. But that, what do I want to say? The candidates, we can still accept folks that want to be on, even though I have a third person that I've talked to. I have to run it by Jasmine. I don't know if I have to, but I do. Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I have to. Okay?
Yep.
Anything else? Any other new business? Well, we went a little longer than I thought we would, but I'm not surprised. All right, we'll try to keep it a little tighter next week, next month. But I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you.